So something that's come to the public's attention after only 7 years is that, and really the old saying follows, is that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And in this case, hi, milk and cheese. In this case, we'll talk about Lance Armstrong. He won 7 consecutive Tours de France, apparently as America's Superman. Now, I had the pleasure of residing in the great state of Texas, in the great county of Travis, in the most bizarre city on the planet, Austin. And just a moment about Austin, Texas. Austin is the capital of a red state, of a state that votes Republican predominantly. Austin is like a little Portland, Denver, and Haight-Ashbury, all rolled into one, right at with the only bastion of conservatism being actually in the state house on Congress. But anyway, so I lived there in this wonderful melting pot of bizarre individuals. And the one thing that was a constant while I was there was that Lance Armstrong was king and wifey Cheryl Crow was queen. So they were the unofficial king and queen of Austin, Texas. And a friend of mine, Stephen Holt, once mentioned that he would like nothing better than to beat up Lance Armstrong, steal his bicycle, and date Cheryl Crow just out of pure spite. Well, I think Ashley gets his wish. Of course, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has stripped Armstrong of his Olympic medal, and this is coming hot on the heels of all of his Tours de France. He's been stripped of those because of oxygen doping. So, you know, another great hero bites the dust, and there's 2 things about that bother me. One, Lance Armstrong's he's a cancer survivor, and so we can't take that away from him. I mean, I think there are people out there. I think that the hospital in Austin where he had the testicle removed, and where I believe that the cancerous testicle is on site, on display at Brackenridge Hospital in Austin. If they gave him cancer back, I think there are people who would even, yeah, they'd cheer that on. A man who lost one of his 2 testes to cancer and went on to win the Tour de France. And I feel bad for the cancer survivors who hitched their wagon to his Livestrong program. I would hope that the funding for that is allowed to continue, that nobody tries to revoke prize money, or hopefully his money is still his money, and that he's still doing some good with it. I just feel bad. And a viewer of our legendary 48 Hours Old video blog was saying, you know, should Lance Armstrong get cancer back? Well, obviously that's bollocks. If anybody wants to give somebody cancer, fuck you. But anyway, I wanted to say something about that. Keith, you mentioned something about heroes and people that we look up to falling short of our expectations. I mean, who was it that said, "I am not a role model"? Back in the 90s? Was that Shaquille? No, it was,
I don't remember who that was.
Kobe Bryant. Somebody wanted to just, you know, be in the public eye and not be a role model.
Is that thing true about the ball?
Lance Armstrong, whereas many of us have 2, yeah, he had to have one of his testicles.
You said they kept it in a jar in like a broom closet or something. Were you being funny, or do they actually?
I was being hilarious. Oh. They did actually.
Nowadays, you don't really know.
You don't. No, they did actually, because it went on to be a famous ball. I think as far as the research on testicular cancer, I think more was done with it. I don't think it was just tossed into the incinerator and
the ball bin.
The ball bin. Where
most they at least cultured it and all that stuff. Who the hell knows? I'm sure they used it whatever. I mean, I'm sure all cancerous tissue and organs that get taken out is saved for scientific purposes. It would only make sense to me, at least. It'd be I mean, you're paying them all that money. They may as well put it to some kind of use.
You would hope that future cancer could be avoided if people could, somehow or another, run a culture on these things. They do all kind of amazing things with, dead body parts now, and I'm up for that.
But without getting too far off topic, my opinion on doping and the sports in general, as far as drugs go, eventually, clearly, if these athletes feel that there's a push for them to perform in let's face it, again, to our superhero standard, if they feel pressure to do drugs, performance-enhancing drugs, oxygen doping, steroids, whatever they do, where's the line there, and at what point will it just become an expected behavior? In other words, when will the American tendency to be spectators, when will our fickle taste demand that these athletes, in order to remain competitive, to entertain, to keep selling those, to keep bringing in those advertising bucks, they'll actually need, and at what point will it just become expected that they do the drugs to keep up, to perform, to win medals, etc., etc.?
I think the implications are actually more disturbing than that. I mean, how long to the point that we revert to the Roman Empire's fascination with, death? I mean, at some point...
It's the Running Man.
The Running Man, yeah. At some point, would Barry Bonds and, any number of other, steroidal athletes, be expected, to club each other over the head with baseball bats until one is no longer able to draw breath.
It's going to happen.
It's eventual. I mean, we like our fake wrestling, and we like our tractor pulls. So at some point, when are we just going to drag a wrestler behind a truck?
Compare 1960s television to 1970s television. Compare 1970s television to 1980s television. You see where I'm going with that.
It's the analogy of boiling a frog to death. If you put a frog in a pot of cold water and gradually turn up the heat, it's a cold-blooded animal, and it's just going to continue to adapt to the increasing external heat. You can boil it to death, and it's just going to sit there happy as a clam. Whereas if you were to throw the frog right into the boiling water, his ass would jump out. So we're kind of in that situation where we've been in the boiling water for some time now, and they just gradually turn up the heat. Because if entertainment made the quantum leap from 50s standards to 2001, we'd all be, rioting in the streets now. But you feed people small doses of diminished expectations over a period of time, and they're just going to cheer, bloody murder. And
25, 50 years from now, it's not far off. Drugs will be expected. Drugs will be the norm.
Right. They'll be receiving celebrity endorsements. I use 100% pure goat scrotum, and I won, 10 platinum medals. But that's the thing, is that the medals will go to, like, platinum, titanium, So that was my little bit on that. I'm not really a big sports nut, so I couldn't sit there and give you the stats, and I couldn't go into, who won something 25 years ago. You start talking sports to me, and I start looking for a good movie.
One of these days, Pete Rose's legacy will be cleared. Simply as times and tastes change.
Yeah, gambling seems to pale by comparison to today's antics.
Same thing, and they were talking about, was it Sammy Sosa and the other guy, the guy that broke his record? Mark somebody. Sorry, not sports people.
This is not ESPN.
The guy that broke I can't think of his name.
Well, that's all for me. I'm going to get lost in a comic book now because I'm still 10.
I think I'm in the mood for some donuts. I don't need donuts, but I like donuts.